And for our next story,
back in.
what do we got?
Yeah.
This is from Fox News.
Oh, yeah.
Dun, dun, dun.
Teen charged in death of 17-year-old.
17-year-old?
Oh,
boy.
right. Yes.
Yeah,
7-year-old.
7-year-old. Jesus.
Yeah, yeah.
What the hell's wrong with me?
We don't care about 17-year-olds.
No.
Yeah.
No, 7-year-olds is where we draw the line.
Yeah. It's
right.
the age of reason. Come on.
Okay, so, yeah. Damien, I'm just going to say Schultz, is charged with first-degree reckless homicide and 6 other
murdering
charges,
of a nun.
although he's only 15. Wisconsin juveniles charged with certain homicide counts are handled in American
Handled in adult court?
court. I'm sorry, I'm dyslexic today.
Yeah.
Damien's father, Timothy, who is 48, is charged with felony murder and 5 other charges, and his mother, Tina, who's 35, is charged with failing to prevent bodily harm and intentionally contributing to the delinquency of a minor. So, basically, what happened was
Sounds like a real mess.
Man.
this 17-year-old was being punished.
7-year-old.
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 Was being punished for not memorizing enough Bible verses to, you know, his father Timothy's satisfaction. So the father left and put the older brother, who was 15, in charge of carrying out the punishment. And he had to carry a 44-pound log, which was about 2/3 of his body weight,
Right.
around in the snow while Damien hit and kicked him with all kinds of different implements like sticks, and eventually he rolled the log on top of the kid on his chest and like pinned him down in with his face in the snow. And the kid ended up dying. And
Yeah, it sounds... Sounds like that was the...
Okay, I'm not going to do devil's advocate for every session.
I was going to say, so
There's
Matt,
no advocate
you're
for this.
designated...
Kid should have learned his Bible verses.
if this lazy child had studied harder in school...
Yeah, this is one of those things where there's just tons and tons of blame to go around. Like,
Yeah.
I have to put the majority of it on the 15-year-old.
yeah.
But I understand why the parents were charged as well. Because how do you get a 15-year-old put them
To
in
do
charge
that.
of punishing a 7-year-old, and yet they don't know? Well, first of all, the punishment itself is
Inhumane.
beyond the bounds of reasonableness and humanity. But to not know that there should still be a limit even on that. Because I think when I read the story, wasn't it like stood on the chest? With
Yeah,
It's
that's right.
horrible.
Yeah, he stood on his chest and he rolled the log on top of him, and he had his face down in the snow.
It all contributed. Yeah.
Yeah, and he said that he hit the kid about 100 times. That's what Damien said. He approximated that he hit and kicked him about 100 times. I mean, I can't say I'm terribly surprised that a dad who would dole out this kind of punishment
wasn't paying attention.
it wasn't paying attention, and also created the kind of kid that would do this.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Man.
I'm pretty sure that is
Bad.
nurture more than nature.
I wonder if this is I wonder how isolated this group is too, because it may tie into the others on the isolated front, because I don't have to remember a single Bible verse ever and can have instant access to almost all of them, if not all of them. So apart from, like if you want to teach your kid anything, but let's go with, religious stuff, memorizing Bible verses is far less important than understanding them in the first place. So the fact that you didn't memorize something that you could easily look up, it's like this is like old school pre-Common Core, let's teach for the test type of thing before Common Core.
No,
Yeah,
I know.
learn-
My response was, this is not, it doesn't surprise me that there is someone forcing their children to memorize Bible verses.
Yeah, I recall a lot of history tests where the date of what happened was more important than what happened. You know?
Yeah, but no, just
Something
even
happened in
make any sense.
1492.
Yeah.
Yeah, this you probably wouldn't be able to get away with this in suburbia,
depends on the suburb.
I guess.
It's going to say if
It has
the
to be-
entire
it has
suburb
to be pretty
is
rural.
I do like the fact that
have
almost
this
everybody
happen.
got charged, though,
Yeah.
and that we heard about it.
I do like that we heard about it. It's one of those things. I don't get depressed now when I hear the horrifying stories about religious things because I know that these things didn't just start happening, but I know that I'm hearing about it, and I'm hearing about it more.
Who do we
And that
think is
means that
more to
other
blame?
people? Who do we think is more to blame?
The father was gone, but he outlined what the punishment was going to be. The mother, it does not mention that the mother was gone.
Right.
So she...
So I have questions
kind
about the
of-
father being.
She let it happen.
Yeah, so I have questions about the father being gone, meaning like he was out of the house that day.
He wasn't there. He
Like he went to buy a pack of cigarettes and they hadn't
I
seen.
think he was at work.
At work. Okay.
And so he had Damien dole out the punishment, and the mother, it does not mention that she was gone, so I have to assume that she was there.
Like it got out of hand.
I don't mean to be that guy, but there's no way this is the first time that the 7-year-old was asked to memorize Bible verses. There's no way that Damien himself wasn't forced to memorize Bible verses. And there's no way that Damien was forced to memorize Bible verses, never got one wrong, and was punished with a wrist slap, and then decided to punish his younger brother like this. So I would say the parents, possibly more so the father, if just extrapolating from fundamentalist views of Christianity and the family ideas that they create, I hold the father most accountable, mostly.
I actually hold the
He is the
15-year-old most
adult.
accountable. I recognize that, of course, the parents undeniably contributed to this and set up this situation, and this 15-year-old is the result of everything that his parents did to him in the first place. But you can play that, the grandfather was responsible for what the father did, which is what was responsible. At 15 years old, and I'm not saying that it's all to blame, but there are certain things that everybody knows or figures out. And what sort of force, first of all, I'm opposed to spanking kids or any punishment that actually does physical damage at all anyway, but I recognize that they're not. But at 15 years old, I definitely knew how much harm was too much harm to be a risk. So
What about charging him as an adult?
I'm actually,
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know about that one.
I'm generally opposed to charging minors as adults. I think there was a reason we made the distinction. And apart from the fact that I'm just generally opposed to it, I also think that if the parents put him in that position of authority, he was granted the responsibility of adult and was expected to act on it. And that's where the parents' responsibility comes in. It's not like we were going to charge parents as children. So, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But
I don't know.
The adult in the room deliberately wasn't there. And it's like, I don't know.
I don't know. Do you think that he would...
It's monumentally lazy. I don't care if you're at work. I don't care if you went out for a pack of smokes or whatever else. Hey, your little brother needs to be punished. Why don't you take care of that for me while I go do something else? No. If your kid needs to be punished, which that's a whole separate conversation, then it's the parents that are the custodians and the caretakers for that child and not the other sibling.
So actually, I then need to ask this question. My understanding, because I didn't read into this independently, was the 15-year-old charged with testing him on the Bible verses and then carrying out the punishment if necessary, or was it
just the punishment?
Just the
And
punishment.
it was actually 13 Bible verses that he was supposed to have memorized.
So it was, he's failed
Not
to
that
recite these
matters.
to me satisfactorily. He needs to get punished, but I'm off to work.
More or less.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was work necessarily, but he left.
Yeah, that's the thing Jamie's asking is, I don't know enough about the scenario. Was it teach your brother these Bible verses, and if he doesn't get them right, you know what to do. Or your brother failed to memorize his Bible verses, and while I'm gone, I need you to punish him.
Yeah.
I don't know how much difference it makes, because in the end, we have a 7-year-old who is dead because of just some backward-ass thinking that is brutal and callous and irresponsible across the board.
Yep.
And with this kind of punishment being a regular thing, or at least a thing that has been done before, which they do go over, you got to wonder if that which verse is it about how you can
spare the rod, spoil the child?
Yeah. That one was probably in there. He probably got that one.
I bet that was tattooed on somebody's ass.
Yeah.
Well, no, it's withhold not punishment from a child, otherwise you hate them, so hit them with a stick. I'm paraphrasing.
I'm sure he knew that.
Because I think that phrase isn't actually in the Bible specifically. But.
Yep.
That's all right, because the Bible wasn't written in English anyway.
Yeah, so nothing that I've ever said was actually in the Bible, because I don't speak.
The more you know.
Aramaic, whatever it was. Depends on which part.
Greek, Aramaic, and Hebrew.
That sounds about right.
Yeah. Well.
Yeah.
Any final thoughts on that one, Dennis?
No, not really.
Yeah. Dennis was done with that story a long time ago.
It's great that religion is harmless. Yeah. God.
I will say that while I do hold that 15-year-old most responsible because he was directly responsible.
I mean, he's directly responsible, yeah.
But that's the thing, is that the parents don't own children. They are stewards of the children, and the state can and should, I think, step in and take them away when parents are this negligent.
Do this,
so I hope that 15-year-old finds a home that will love him and teach him how to not do stuff like this, assuming that that home is not the state penitentiary.
Yeah.
Which I don't know any way to
sounds
avoid
like
it.
it's going to be, yeah.
I'm not sure how I feel about the wife's charge. The 30.
What was she charged with?
I don't know what contributing to the delinquency of a minor.
Failing to prevent bodily harm and intentionally contributing to the delinquency of a child.
Yeah, so basically they got her for neglect, and I don't know what the...
Yeah. I mean, she's definitely guilty of that, but she...
Was the father not charged with anything?
No, he was. He was charged
with... I need
murder.
A lot more.
Felony murder.
Felony murder is like...
And 5 other charges.
if you're driving the getaway car, essentially. You're still guilty of what happens. And it's a weird charge that I'm fine with in this circumstance, but I'm not sure if I'm fine with elsewhere. But it's, and of course this makes it on the show because it's tied to religious ideas, and hey, we need to memorize Bible verses. What I'd like most to see, irrespective of whatever the final outcome is for all the people who are charged, is instead of having this picked up by a newspaper and having the nonprofits comment on it, I would like for every self-identified Christian preacher in the United States to denounce this.
That'd be great.
As both, your kid does not need to be punished for not memorizing Bible verses, let alone physically punished to the point of death. How fucking hard is that?
And please, if you can, find an example of an atheist family doing this. You didn't memorize enough Dawkins quotes, so...
You hear Christians, and especially pundits, will say all the time that people within the Islamic community need to be very vocal about denouncing every single bad thing that happens under the umbrella of Islam. And yet they don't do that.
They're not going to denounce. Occasionally, you might get one of them to denounce Westboro just because it's a good PR thing.
That's a low bar.
And what I found from many of them is when I ask, well, why aren't you speaking out about this? Their thought is, for some of the ones I've spoken with, well, of course I'm against it. Everybody's against it. They just, and it's not enough for it to be a matter of course that everyone's opposed to it. Sometimes you have to say something, especially when something is being, is representing ideas and mindsets within what you believe.
Otherwise we will be forced to draw conclusions.
Well, all you pastors who think that, of course you object to it, are you opposed to corporal punishment? That's the first question, because
usually not.
If you're not, then there's a real conflict there that you have a duty to address.
I think they would probably say, to play pastor's advocate here.
Yeah.
They would probably say, well, I'm not opposed to spanking your child, but you definitely shouldn't kill him.
Yeah.
Or leave it one irresponsible child to punish another one that's just trying his hardest to learn the Bible. Sorry, that left a bad taste in my mouth.
No, it's not the religious dad's fault. It's the kid who.
Yeah, but what I will say is,
too far.
I think there's a kind of abdication there, because if you're a pastor, presumably you're supposed to be, leading your flock, and so it's necessary to say these things, even if everyone believes it. You go into your church every Sunday and say Jesus is God, even though everyone there believes it.
Were they part of a church?
Right.
Oh.
This could be a homeschool, home church.
Oh,
I don't know.
Yeah.
This was actually.
I'll wager.
I actually got this from Fox, and they really buried the lead in terms of the Bible stuff. It was at the very, very end before you find out.
Oh, and by the way, it was all about the Bible. They were Christian.
Right.
And next up.
Yeah, so you had to read the whole thing before you found out why he was being punished. So they just didn't get into that detail.
I will have to look around. I didn't dig in this too much, but I'd really like to see, were they part of a church, and has that church said anything other than, oh, this is a terrible tragedy with God calling home another one of his angels? Because if that's what they said, they can, piss off.
Yeah, they've had a couple of days
that's
now.
not how angels
Yeah, they've had 5 days. I would imagine that if they are part of a church, surely they would have put out a statement by now.
Yeah.
Well, I agree they should have.
Yeah.
Probably would not have.
How long did it take the Catholic Church to start talking about?
It's been more than 20 years. So, with that said, let's get some good-ish news.